Being nice is overrated. Boundaries are underrated. Ever felt like your personal space being invaded and your needs are being neglected? I get it. I've been there too. That's why today I'm going to talk about boundaries, something everyone should know, everyone on this planet, no excuses. Because trust me, setting boundaries can totally change your relationship with anyone for the better, with right people for the better. So grab a snack, get comfy, and let's dive into it. So there are 6 types of boundaries. The most common one, I think everyone knows about it, is physical boundary. It's basically your right to protect your space, your body, the right to be touched or not to be touched. This boundary clearly defines what is comfortable and uncomfortable for you with your personal space and your body, and everyone have to have those boundaries. Setting a physical boundary could sound like, I prefer handshake instead of hug. I value my personal space, so I would really appreciate it if we could have some distance between us. I'm not comfortable displaying with public affection, so can we just hug and kiss when we will be alone at home? That is too, if you have a partner and the partner loves to hug and kiss in public, but you don't. That is too a personal boundary. You're not being too much. That is a personal boundary. It also can be, this is my journal, this is a private thing written there, please don't read it, please don't take it. Could also be that, because it's your space. Whatever you write in there, that is your space too. It also could be, I've asked you not to rub my back, it makes me uncomfortable. I'm asking you not to pat me on my back, it makes me uncomfortable. We don't consume nor drink alcohol in our house. And physical boundary violation, which I think all of us had, could be something as following: unwanted kisses, unwanted hugs, unwanted touch in any way. Especially, I see that a lot with relatives. Whenever a young child doesn't want to hug a relative, the parents or relatives can be like, oh, but that's your family, be nice. You know what? Being nice is overrated. Boundaries are underrated. Because children can set boundary too, and people have to take it seriously. And it's not only about children, adults too. Standing too close is a boundary violation too. Invasive personal questions that you are not comfortable with. Going through someone's stuff, like phone, journal, bag, suitcase, wardrobe, stalking. It's a violation of human rights and boundaries too, so don't stalk people, please. The second boundary is sexual. I think you know what it means, but there are some things that we not know about. For example, sexual jokes or comments, pressuring or cohesion. When someone touches you in a sexually suggestive manner, ignoring verbal or non-verbal cues, and the rest of them that are illegal and them. So how can you set sexual boundaries? It could be, I need you to ask me for my consent before touching me in any way. It's important for me that we first take things slow and then go into something more. I'm not comfortable discussing my private life in a workspace, so let's just switch to the work topic. I appreciate your compliments about my appearance, but I would prefer if we would focus on the work topic instead. I want to be clear that I'm not okay with sexual language in our interaction. You can set sexual boundary also by saying, no, stop, get your hand off my leg, your comment isn't funny, it's sexually inappropriate. No is a full sentence, so use it. Third one is intellectual boundary. I know it's not as common as these two, but hear me out. It's important too. Basically, intellectual boundary refers to your ideas and thoughts, and that you're allowed to have opinion on anything you want. And when you express that opinion, your words shouldn't be dismissed. They shouldn't be neglected. They shouldn't be patronized in any way. But it also means saying on a topic that are appropriate for people. For example, what could be inappropriate is 2 people, they're in a marriage and they split up and then have a child, and one parent says to that child, who's 5-year-old for example, that we are divorcing because your other parent, they cheated on me, they have someone else. Even though it's true, it's not appropriate for a 5-year-old child to know that information is not appropriate. Examples of intellectual boundary violation is name calling, especially when you express your opinion and someone calls you fool, any bad other word, let's just stop at fool. than yelling or shouting, dismissive behavior, mocking or ridiculing, like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, yeah, constantly interrupting. For example, you say, oh, but I think about that, and that person interrupts, no, you don't know what you think. My opinion is the only one that's right. You don't know what you're saying. Refusing to listen to your opinion, to you, to what you have to say, belittling. For example, you say something and the person is like, oh, it's so cute that you think that's important. It's basically making someone feel small for their belief. Public humiliation. Invalidating experiences. For example, it could sound like, oh, you're just being so sensitive. You're just being too sensitive. It wasn't even as big deal as you make it. And of course, forcing a belief. For example, you believe in something and you're forcing a belief onto someone. Like you believe that Earth is flat and you're like, Earth is flat. I'm telling you, Earth is flat. It's a forcing belief. And also it's not true, so grow up. Fourth one is emotional boundary. Do you want to know how emotional boundary is different from previous boundary we were talked about? Okay, I got you. Basically, establishing your emotional boundaries is taking ownership of your own feeling and not being made responsible for someone else's feelings. Because everyone has the right to have their feelings respected and validated. For example, a solid emotional boundary includes not oversharing. When someone asks you, like a stranger or a friend you knew too little time, and they ask you about, like, tell me about the situation, and you're like, no, I'm not comfortable oversharing. Or it could also be someone else's violation. For example, I just met you and you're oversharing, and it's my emotional boundary violation because I'm not your therapist. Like, it's not being mean, it's just like, it's too much sometimes. Because everyone has the right to share or not share as much as or as little as they want. So setting an emotional boundary might sound like, when I share things with you, I expect you to keep that private, so please keep that private, because if you're not going to, I'll just stop telling you things. I can hear that you have a lot going on, and I don't think I'm equipped to help you with that. Have you thought about going to therapist? And I know, you're like, oh, it sounds bad. It sounds bad. No, it's not. It's not a personal attack. You just, when someone asks you about mental health or a relationship, and you're like, I work in finance. I don't really... What do you want? I don't really know what to tell you. That's okay. You can tell this, because again, I'm gonna make a video about a common reaction people have when you set boundaries, and if you felt like if someone would say this to you that I previously said and you would feel attacked, you have an unhealthy reaction when someone sets boundaries. It could be also, I'm not comfortable talking about this topic. I'm not comfortable sharing that much information. I will take my time processing my feelings, and I will heal and I will be okay in my own time. It's okay for me to feel in this situation how I feel. My feelings are valid, so stop telling me how to feel. Because if you continue patronizing my feelings, I will stop telling you how I feel. Examples of emotional boundary violation: oversharing. Got it, get it, pick it up in a box. Great. Sharing inappropriate information with children, emotional dumping or excessive venting, pushing someone to share information that they are not comfortable sharing, gossiping about personal details of someone else's life, minimizing the impact of someone else's feelings, pushing people to move past their hard and complicating feelings quick. Okay, which brings us to almost the last one. Fifth boundary is material boundary. Like, you have your own personal things, your journal, your, phone, car, apartment, and when someone asks you, for example, can you let me borrow your car for this week? And you're like, no, I can't. I mean, I can, because last time I gave you that car, you returned it in a bad condition and you declined to pay for the, whatever you've done to that car. That is a material boundary violation. Or, for example, if you gave your friend a suit and they returned it dirty, they should pay for the dry cleaning of the suit, not you. If people that you lend your things to, you let them borrow something and they return it in a bad condition, the best boundary to set is stop giving them those things and just state clearly, like, you violated my stuff that I gave you and you haven't returned it. Also, it can be about money. If you're lending someone money and they haven't returned it and they want again to borrow money from you, and say, oh, okay, I'm gonna give you this on a Friday for sure. All this, all that I lent from you, all that I borrowed, I'm gonna give it to you on a Friday. And you're like, I'm not gonna give you anything. You haven't returned it. I'm not gonna give you anything. You missed the last deadline you should have, and you didn't. So I guess I'm not gonna lend you this time. And it's not being selfish. It's being respectful of your own things. You have to respect your own things. Because if you're not gonna respect your own things and someone will borrow a car from you and they return it half smashed and you're like, it's not how it was, but I mean, we're friends, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay for anything that I did to the car, but you know, thank you for letting me borrow it. That is not a true friendship. It's not a true friendship. It's a toxic friendship, not a true one. Setting a material boundary may sound like, I will lend you money, but I expect full amount back on Friday. I will not lend you money because you didn't return the last time you borrowed money from me. Be sure to return my blank, whatever you give them, in a good condition. Or it could be something like, if you're gonna borrow my suit, I can give you my suit. You can borrow my suit, but if you get it dirty, you have to pay for dry cleaning. It can also be, I can loan you money. I can't give you that thing. I can lend you my car for a week. Also, could sound like that. Example of material boundary violation. I think I gave you some examples, but anyway. Using the thing that you borrow from someone or when someone borrowed it from you longer time than that was agreed on. For example, you're like, oh, I'm gonna give you my suit for wedding, and wedding had passed like 2 weeks ago, and you're like, where's my suit? I don't need it, but like, where is it? You're not keeping your word, dude. So how can I trust you with my things again? Or it could be never returning item at all. If you gave item to someone, you gave, I don't know, suit to someone, and that person to whom you gave suit gave that suit to their friend without even asking you if, hey dude, can I lend your suit that I borrowed from you a week ago to my another buddy? It's a whole scheme, but also a boundary violation. Also, it is damaging someone's thing and refusing to pay for it. Don't be an bad human being, please. And the last one, 6 months, is a time boundary, the most important one. And I think this is a boundary that most people struggle with, because it's basically setting time around what amount of time you want to be socializing, what amount of time you want to be working, what amount of time you want to do that. So you're like setting these boundaries like, oh, I'm gonna socialize 2 hours today and spend time alone, like whole evening, because it helps you to prevent burnout and set some life balance in your life. I think you watching there may have hard time finding enough time to complete tasks that you want to complete. But with time boundary, with the minute you set time boundary, you're gonna have way more time, believe me. And basically, because it's gonna help you balance your life. So setting time boundary may sound like, I can't stay longer today. I'm not gonna be able to be on your game on Tuesday. I work from 9 to 5 and I don't have time to chit chat with you during my work hours. Rude? Maybe. You can say it more gentle, but you get the point. I cannot help you this week. I am working on my personal project this weekend, so I'm not going to be able to go out with you. Time boundary violation looks like, I think we're all done it. Calling or texting someone multiple times in a row when there is no emergency. Calling someone or texting someone, again, when it's late at night and the person might be sleeping and they are not answering you. And the morning they wake up, you were upset at them because they didn't reply. Expecting someone to drop everything and help you. Asking someone to do things for free. It is a time boundary violation too. Setting unrealistic timetables. This, people sometimes are delusional. They think they live in a world where, I don't know, there's 100 hours a day. So you need to remind them that it's not true. Unannounced, extensive visits. That is a time boundary violation too. So tell your mother-in-law, oh my god, I'm just joking around. Such an amazing mood I have. Okay, but really, how to set your boundaries? All 6 types of boundaries. Of course, there are more, but I kind of named the main ones. But how to set your boundaries? First of all, you have to figure out what are your boundaries? Where do you feel uncomfortable? For that, you have to tuning into your emotions, your feelings, your life. Be more present in your own life to feel what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable. Are those jokes make you uncomfortable? If it does, it's time to set boundary. It's time to set boundary. Even though I don't have any watches, but it's time. It's time to set boundaries. You can also start journaling and like figure out what are your values, or what makes you uncomfortable. Talk to other people that have boundaries, and like talk to them. For example, you can have value not gossiping, and when someone starts gossiping, you're like, I really appreciate that we're talking, I really appreciate your time, but if I don't like us gossiping. I don't like gossip. I would like us not to gossip. Like, you can gossip with whoever you want, but with me, please don't. You figure out what your values are, what makes you uncomfortable, you journal a little bit about it, talk to people a little about it, and then time for action. Start with a few boundaries, see how it goes, how it's better for you to communicate them, how it's better for you to, I don't know, talk to that person, like, for example, your friend or your partner, to talk to them. What is the better way? Figure out for yourself. Consider also setting boundaries early. Like, you made an acquaintance with someone and you're becoming friends, or have a situationship, or becoming like having a relationship, and set those boundaries early in a relationship, because when you talk to someone like for a week and they are neglecting something that is what makes you really uncomfortable, and then like after a week of hanging out, you're like to this person, I don't like when you do that, and they're like, but you liked it. I mean, you didn't mind the last few weeks we've been hanging out. So it would be easier to just set them early in a relationship, any kind of relationship. But it also doesn't mean that you have to give up your old friendship. Be consistent with your boundaries, because there will be so much people. The video I'm gonna make about 8 common reactions people have when you set boundaries, one of them, only one of them, is a healthy reaction. And it is, spoiler alert, acceptance. Because 7 other 7 aren't. You know why? Because no one taught us that. No one taught us that. Of course, you can go and blame human beings for being such a bad human beings, but no one taught us how to set boundaries. So it's totally fine. You can learn it. But if that person is not willing to learn and grow and change and try, doors that way. Literally, doors that way. You see, there's door. Crave out some personal time, because people are gonna react badly to you setting boundary, and if you're dependent on other people, their bad reaction can cause you to, forget about your boundaries. And when you are comfortable being alone, being with yourself, you're comfortable, you know that your opinion is the one that matters. You value your own values. You don't really care what that person thinks of you. So you're really in a safe place when that person rejects your boundaries or reacts badly to your boundary. You're like, okay, I have myself and I deserve that bare minimum of boundaries I just set. If you're not okay with that, doors that way. You also can include some extra boundaries. Like, there are boundaries that you set, like they're non-negotiable, but you also can like some extra boundaries, little extra boundaries could really build up your self-confidence and boundary setting. And you also have to set healthy boundaries with social media. Avoid oversharing or like exposing yourself to too much at the same time. Just set healthy boundaries with social media. That's an important one. And you have to communicate when your boundaries are crossed, and they're gonna be crossed. You can communicate to people like, I don't like this is my boundary, and they're gonna cross it again, because that is a common reaction. Again, video I'm gonna make. Common reaction. But you have to communicate, because we have this mindset that once we set our boundaries, when we communicated them, once we did that, and people are like, okay, sure, because we think that people are amazing human beings, and like, sure, okay, sure, but they are gonna cross it again. And this mindset of, oh, they're not gonna cross it again. I just said it, I don't have to remember it. No, because it invites inaction to your day-to-day life. So when someone crosses your boundary, you're like, oh well, I did communicate it to them, but they didn't listen, so I guess that's how it's gonna be. No, communicate your boundaries, please, for your own sake, not for mine, for your own sake. And also respect other people's boundaries. You don't have to like someone else's boundaries, you don't have to agree with someone else's boundaries, but you do have to respect it. And you can also read about boundaries to get a more perspective on it, to get more understanding on it. And practice some self-love, again, because some people may reject your boundary, react badly, and you have to be comfortable with yourself when people reject you. Because if someone rejects your boundary, and reacts badly, that person has an intention of crossing that boundary. So is it a really good person to have in your life? Do you really like that person or idea of them? I don't know. I think the idea of them. Like setting boundaries, understanding your boundaries, it's great, but you also have to respect other people's boundaries. Whenever you don't understand someone else's boundary, like they told you, oh, I do not hug, and they hug you next day, you have to like ask them question like, when do you feel comfortable me hugging you? Do you have like special occasion? Do you have like special, I don't know. You have to ask questions about people's boundaries to get them clear enough. So this is it. This is it. I hope you enjoyed this video with your little snack. I love you so much, and I want to tell you that if someone reacts bad to your boundaries when you set your boundaries, it doesn't say much about you, it says much about them, because you are amazing and you have a right to have a boundary, and you have a right to have those boundaries respected, and you're an amazing human being. You're one of a kind. Do you understand that was never a person like you, such an amazing, unique person like you, with your amazing, unique talents, even though you might not even discover them yet, with such an amazing smile, amazing face, amazing body? You're amazing, all of you. You're amazing. I hope you know that. I hope you know that. And also, I'm proud of you. I know you're doing something, and you're doing something, and you're struggling about it, and you're like, what if it's not gonna work out? It will. You have to put in the work, and time is gonna pass anyway, so why not do it? And I love you. I love you. I'm also tired of standing, but I love you. I love you so much, and I'm proud of you. And take care of yourself, take care of others, but mostly of yourself. And I'll see you in a week or in the next video in a second. Bye.